Hey guys, it's Marta. Today, let's go on a walk through my garden. We'll do a garden tour. This is the most requested video from you in the comments. I'll take you through my whole garden and show you what's blooming now. We'll start here in the front garden. Behind me you can see our front garden. We have one gate that is used for the cars coming in, and you can also open it halfway and then you have a gate to walk in. And when you walk into my garden, first thing you see is this part and the garage door that I've shown you in the video about what's in my pots. And this is the shady corner of our garden. It's full of Japanese maples, hostas, and all of the plants that like the shade. We have sun only in the morning here, so this is a very nice place to stay cool and to have your coffee in the afternoon. On my left side, you will see a part that is, there's a smoke bush, and we have a lot of roses, a lot of lilacs, and I call it a garbage rose here. This is Super Dorothy, and we have it on the place where we store our garbage, but it is covering it completely, and now it is starting to bloom. It is always covered with thousands of tiny pink flowers, and it looks just amazing. When you're standing in this place in my garden, you can choose two ways. You can go to the technical part of the garden, we'll go there later, but then you can go into our house where you've seen already in the video about the pots. We have a lot of SUPERTUNIAS, but they've grown so much since the last video. You can see those pink flowers of bubblegum, also snowdrift. We have also their salvias and hydrangeas. Or you cannot go into the house, but you can go to the front garden when there are a lot of roses and hydrangeas. My front garden is surrounded by box hedging, which I will need to cut soon, but I'm waiting for the perfect moment, which means no scorching sunlight and no rain, and we had both in the last week, so I will be doing that next week probably. Behind the box hedging we have a lot of roses. Here you can see a rose that is called Garden of Roses, and I love it because this is the rose that blooms for the longest time in my garden. When it starts in June, it will bloom until the frost comes. So I really like it. Very compact rose, beautiful color, doesn't have a very strong scent. I would say it's minimal scent, but it is very showy and it has very nice color. All of the roses here are pink with a tint of peach. The main feature in the front garden is the fountain, and when I was designing this space I've decided to make it a symmetrical garden, and all of the plants are on both sides. The same plants are there. So we have Gertrude Jekyll rose, we have the back of the border are the limelight hydrangeas, and we also have some tiny hydrangeas in front and SUPERTUNIAS that are the ground cover of this border, and just 2 or 3 of them on each side will be covering the ground completely. Next to my fountain you will see 2 roses that are called the ballerinas. They are floribundas with a lot of tiny flowers, pink and white. I also have some perovskia here, some salvias and some grasses. I even have some coneflowers there, but they will be blooming later. And here again we have those same plants that were there, so they are all symmetrical. And then we enter my hydrangea garden. This is a border full of Annabelle hydrangeas and limelights. There are a lot of them. And as a front of the border, I've decided to put Hakonekloa grasses that you can see here. They are pretty young, but in a few years they will cover the ground completely and will look very, very airy. In the other part of this border you can see a lot of bruneras. I've shown you them in spring. They were beautiful. They had a lot of blue flowers. Now they are their interest is in their leaves because they are very light. They are almost glowing in the evening. I really like this as a ground cover. And then we have a lot of Annabelles and strong Annabelles. They are just budding up, so in a few weeks we'll have a sea of white flowers, and this will be the glowing part of the garden. And I really like those hydrangeas en masse, so there are so many of them. Behind them you can see still some alliums. Here are the ambassador alliums that are blooming in the later part of the I would say spring. Now we have summer. They are still blooming in summer. So if you want to make a composition with alliums that are blooming later, go for ambassadors. Behind my Annabelles, I have a lot of limelight hydrangeas. I really love them. They were the first hydrangeas in my garden. They are blooming a bit later in the year, but I think that those paniculatas are the hardest of hydrangeas. You can always rely on them. But when we turn here, you will see what I was talking in the last video. Bobby James, one of my favorite roses. It only blooms once, but when it blooms, it is blowing your mind. So many clusters of white open flowers that pollinators love, that Marta loves, everyone loves when they see it. And the scent is also beautiful. And it is just one rose, if you can imagine. It spreads 4 meters wide, and there are so many blooms on both sides of this structure. When I was designing my garden, I followed a very good advice that said, make your garden full of garden rooms. Our brain loves the anticipation, not knowing what will happen. So when you divide your garden into rooms, it is always great not to see everything at once. So that's why I made those garden rooms. Probably the dopamine is rushing through our brain. And here is one example of that. You go through this pergola and you enter our patio. And this is a place where I have all of the raised beds. But before we go there, I wanted to show you this part. This is our south wall of our house. We have a lot of roses here. We have Heavenly Pink, we have Gertrude Jekyll, and on the pergola we have James Galway and of course Bobby James. And I also have my espalier apple trees that look beautiful, but they are also giving me a lot of apples in the fall. This is Golden Delicious, one of my favorite apples. Okay, now we enter the patio area that is connected to our terrace. So here I have a lot of raised beds that I grow a lot of salads in. I have strawberries, I have herbs. This is a very nice place that I can reach. It's very close to my terrace, to my kitchen. So when I need to cook something and I need some herbs, this is like a moment to come. I can come bare feet, grab some herbs and rush to the kitchen and cook. That is very good. We had here, a few years ago, we had grass here and I didn't like it because it was always muddy, and when I was rushing bare feet, I had a very dirty terrace. So we made some paving here and now it's very comfortable. This space is also it is sunny in the morning, but then it gets a bit of shade in the afternoon, but not late afternoon. So we can sit here, look at all of this produce, and then we can relax here. In this place, this is my throne. All of my subscribers always laughed that this is my throne. So I've decided that near my throne I want to have a lot of flowers, and I planted a lot of hydrangeas, garden hydrangeas that are in pots, and I want this to be full of blooms, and I will have this kind of picture later in the summer. In our garden we have 2 greenhouses and 1 polytunnel, and this is a small greenhouse. We made it just I think last year or 2 years ago. Before we had my daughter's, I wouldn't call it a tree house, it was a tree house without the tree, but she had a place that she could play here, and now as she is studying abroad, we are having this tiny greenhouse where I grow my peppers and tomatoes. Of course, all of the surroundings of this greenhouse are full of flowers. Here I have my wall of flowers of SUPERTUNIAS. This is my favorite combination and I've been practicing it for a few years now. This is bubblegum with silverberry and it is just a wall of flowers and I really love it. When I sit there on my throne or at this table, I'm always looking at them and there are so many flowers. This is so colorful, beautiful. I love this space. So on my left we have our terrace, that is our second living room, but we'll go there where more of the roses grow. This corner is in semi-shade, but I'm growing a rose that is called Winchester Cathedral. Really like it and it is loving this space. I also have a box here, Brannera, catmint. This is Six Hills Giant, a huge catmint, and a lot of geranium rosanne, which I really like because when it starts blooming in June, it will bloom until the frosts come. So it is a perfect ground cover for those semi-shade spots in your garden. Let's go further. On my left side there are hydrangeas, vanilla fresh ones, and some sedums. We'll see them in the later part of the year. But as we walk on the lawn, there we enter the gravel place with my bench, and there are so many roses here. If you watched my previous videos, you've seen this space with the blooming rhododendron, with azaleas, and now they are just a green hedge. But behind them you can see what was not seen in those videos. You probably have seen some sticks and there were roses, and now they are in full bloom. You can also see the alliums. These are the ambassador ones, the latest flowering ones, and a lot of English roses. We have Jeff Hamilton, we have a lot of them. I will not be naming all of the roses because we would stay here for 2 hours, but I have a lot of pink roses here, also the darker ones. It is so full of blooms and it is also very full of scent. This space is one of the most recognizable spaces in our garden. This is my favorite bench and I love sitting here because when I sit here I see almost the whole garden and all of my roses. The white gravel and all of those blooms look really, it looks like a romantic cottage or something. It looks beautiful now, and the scent is incredible because they are all mixing and all of the colors are, this is like a perfect moment for me, sitting here with a coffee, not thinking what I'm about to do in the garden or what I should do, but just enjoying the moment. There are not that many because I'm a gardener that always sees something that should be done, but I'm trying to teach myself to enjoy those tiny moments because in winter you're missing those moments, not the moments when you're working. So it's good to sometimes sit and enjoy the views that were made with your hard labor. Okay, let's show you a hidden place here behind this tree. You will see a raised bed that I grow dahlias in and sweet peas. Also, incredible scent from the sweet peas. We are still waiting for the dahlias, but they will be blooming late summer and all of the fall. We'll have a lot of flowers to bring into the house. And in the back, I have the edible peas. Of course, you don't eat those, but the back is the place where I go in the morning and I take a shell and I eat the peas straight from the shell. They are the sweetest, the best. If you're ever trying to grow some vegetables, start with peas. They are just perfect, straight from the vine. The best. Here we have our wall full of clematis and full of roses. I've shown you this in a previous video, but now as you can see, all of the roses they have so many more blooms than they had in the last video. I've been also deadheading them, and I think it's time to cut my catmint because it is losing its color, and whenever I see catmint or salvias or any other perennials that are losing color, I shear them down to have another bloom. In the border surrounding me, you can see a mix of roses that are pink, white, some of them are peachy, Some of them are more lavender. Then we have a lot of lavender, a lot of catmint, a lot of salvias. We'll also have some phlox later, and the clematis. We are still waiting for the clematis viticella to start blooming. But overall, this is a very romantic feel, a lot of cool tones, and I love it now. This is the perfect moment for these borders. Now we can choose two paths, and it is also good for the brain. You have to choose which way to go, but we'll go left, and this is our gazebo. This is a space we used a lot when we didn't have our terrace that is really bigger than it used to be. And we used to grill here a lot and spend a lot of time, but now we don't use it as much. So this space now is used when we have a party and when we grill. This is the only time we spend most of our time there in the terrace. But we go this way and we can go to my greenhouse. The gazebo is covered with climbing roses and clematis. Here you can see a rose that is called Rosenprinzessin. This is a German rose. And you have Comtesse de Bouchot clematis. I really love it. The pink is perfect. It has really big flowers and the scent is beautiful. And when you go this way, we have a very shady spot. Here you have a maple that has very limey leaves and a lot of hostas that are loving this shady position, and we have a little bench that you can sit on in the shade when it's very hot in the garden. On my left, you can see my greenhouse. I grow tomatoes there and I have a lot of strawberries there in the baskets. But when you enter the greenhouse, I always want a lot of flowers. So here we have roses. This is Leonardo da Vinci, a very beautiful rose, very healthy one. And this space, this part of the garden is in semi-shade and it is always blooming like crazy. So this is a nice rose for this type of position in the garden. We will go this way. There I have a polytunnel that is hidden. And this year I tried adding a bit of color here. This is a very shady position. So I added a lot of limey hostas and ferns and I wanted some color here. In the polytunnel, I'm growing tomatoes and cucumbers, and this is a space I try to utilize. I always want to push more things into the garden. Okay, we're going out of here and I'll show you the CUTFLOWER garden that is next to my greenhouse. This is a space designed for cut flowers, so I don't feel sorry for cutting the flowers from my borders, but there are so many. I'm not really that sad that I have to cut from there. But here I grow specifically for arrangements. So I have a lot of hydrangeas, and I have some roses to cut. I have some scabious. I have some sweet peas. You can see a lot of flowers here, mostly annuals, and this is a perfect space to come and see what's blooming and create a perfect arrangement for your home. When we go out of this space, you are going through a pergola, and on the pergola you will see Constance spray. It is now finishing its blooming, but then the clematis will start to bloom. But when we look this way, you will see I have this clematis, Comtesse de Bouchot, on a plum tree, and in the back you can see the rose and the same clematis on my gazebo. I really like this view. In the previous video, I told you I will show you this border in full bloom, so you can see Angela, the Salvia, Caradonna, then we have Catmint, William Shakespeare, and my favorite rose, Boscobel. They are in full bloom. It looks so beautiful. This is a view I see from my bedroom window when I wake up, and I just love it. Here I have some planters that I have a lot of things that I'm trying, so you will find everything here. We have a lot of flowers, different ones. This is a space for me to experiment, and I'm trying to grow different things in pots to see how they react, if they like it, if they don't. And it is a very good learning space for me, because I can try different things and not worry that they will stay there forever. Here, again, I'm trying to grow sweet peas in a container. We have some clematis, it's called Justa. We have a lot of SUPERTUNIAS, everything is here, even strawberries. And here I have a lot of roses, climbing roses, normal roses, lavender, a lot of blooms. And this place, we are entering the terrace. On the terrace I have a lot of roses, a lot of climbing roses, and a lot of flowers. We have also SUPERTUNIAS. This is jazzberry, and this year I've decided that on the terrace I want to have only jazzberry. Bubblegum is in the different spaces of the garden, but jazzberry is the terrace one this year. Every year I try to change something and try a different color scheme, and I think it works. Your place always looks a bit different. But let's see the terrace. Our terrace was really small, and we've decided to extend it and to make it like a big space to relax. And we did it during the pandemic, and it was a great idea. And now we have a huge space that we treat as our second living room. On the terrace we have everything. We have loungers, we have couches, we have chairs, and we have a jacuzzi. So it is a perfect space to relax. But planting, we have a lot of roses that grow near the walls, but they are in the ground. And I've tried surrounding this terrace with Stipa tenuissima, because the Mexican feather grass, because I didn't want it to look like a box. So it is a very airy plant, and I have some drumstick alliums that will be blooming soon. And this plant softens the edges of the terrace. When you go this way, you will see a sea of lavender that I have here. It is planted with salvias, and you can see the roses from a different position. And this is what you see when you're sitting in a jacuzzi and you see all of those roses, all of those blooms of lavender and salvias. Love it. There is also a different part of my garden that is a technical part, and it's on the north side of our house, where we store all of our things that you use in the garden to work in. So all of your tools, fertilizers, there is so much of that. So we have a tiny shed that we store everything in. I think all of us have this kind of space where we have to store all of our tools and stuff like that. So we have it here. But in this space, I have one of my favorite trees. This is a Himalayan pine, and I really love it. It has such airy needles, and I love using it for my Christmas decorations. I will show you in winter. And when we get out of this area, we come back to this space where we started. This is our shady spot with the maples, and this is where we end our tour. Let me know which space in the garden was your favorite. Which one do you like best? Which one would you like to replicate in your garden? And tell me, what is your favorite space in your garden? Okay guys, thank you for visiting today. Thank you for joining me on this tour of my garden. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one. See you. Bye.